30.
We'll be done way before that.
No, it'll be by 4:30. 4:30.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, well, depends on how many questions people ask, really. All right, are we? All right, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia koutou, welcome to our what now called information session / workshop. And new era where this has been broadcast live, so never know who will be listening. I'd like to join us with our opening karakia. Taka te hau, taka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kiusa, kia mā tātā ki tai, e ki ana te atakura, e tino, e luka, e haurunga, tihe, mori. Everyone. So we have apologies for lateness from Councillor Donovan and apologies from Tim Baker. Apologies for potentially for early departure from Alex. Do we have any other?
Kelly Barber cannot make it today.
Apologies from Councillor Barber. All right. Someone like to move that those be accepted. Moved by Jackie, seconded by Greg. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. All right. So the first item we have is the New Brighton Marine Parade Street Renewal Project. So Shalene and friends, if you'd like to. Yeah. If you want to dispose of those name tags, just chuck them on the desk over here. Donovan. All right. So we're just starting the New Brighton item. All right. So would you like to present and then take questions or take questions?
We've just broken it up in slides, so we'll just ask questions when we're halfway through.
Okay.
With them as well.
Okay, and could you turn your mic on this one?
Yeah.
All right, sure.
Cool.
I just want to know, we have down both of these are for half an hour.
Yeah.
So planning on taking half an hour for both items. So just bear that in mind. Obviously, if we're continuing to progress and when the questions, rather than go round and round, then we can continue longer if we have to. But avoid going round and round circles.
Hello everyone, my name is Charlene and I'm the project manager for New Brighton Craft Marine Parade project. Here with me I've got Hayden, who's the designer for the project, and Crystal, who's the engagement advisor. So we're here to present to you the Marine Parade Craft project, standing from Hawke Street to Bottle Road, present to you the two scheme options and methodology for public consultation. We just want to recap what happened in the last community board briefing and the steer we received. So the project team were given a steer on the finalising two options for consultation and undertake safety audit, which we've done now. The following two options were finalised. Option A, improve existing, and option B, improve existing and make safer with chip seal. I do note in the memo it's stated as option 1 and option 3B, which was presented in the last briefing, and just wanted to make it simpler when we got up for consultation. One of the things that was requested by the community board was a third option, which is a do nothing option. So normally we do not consult on a do nothing option based on the work we've done, and also, you know, this is a community board driven project as well. So we just want to recommend to the board that we just consult on option A and B and not on option 3, which is do nothing option. And now, if there's any questions for that in terms of just going over regarding option 3, please let us know. Want to ask a question now about that?
Alex?
Yeah, just a really quick process question. So is it the board's decision to include a do nothing option?
So the board suggested that we include that option as an option 3.
Yeah.
However, as a project team, we do not recommend we go out with that third option.
So is it the project team's delegation or the board's delegation to include that option? I guess, are you saying that it's not happening? You're saying that you recommend that we don't do it?
Yes, correct.
That was, you're recommending we don't do it, but that's,
That was requested by the board
Yeah.
last briefing.
yes. Yep. All right, keep going.
So I'll just hand over to Hayden, who'll go over option.
Yeah.
Option.
If you have to, yeah,
Yep.
it's like a metal concert, yeah.
Cool, thanks. So we'll start off with option A, which is improve existing. So that is that comprises of AC renewal between Hawke Street and 187 Marine Parade, the replacement of the deep dish channel between Lonsdale Street and 142 Marine Parade, as well as some minor bus stop improvements. Excuse me. That includes marked bus stops, tactile pavers, seating where space permits, sealed waiting areas, and the removal of 3 low-use bus stops in consultation with ECAN. Out of this, you gain an extra 5 car parks, as well as 2 mobility car parks outside Hepuna Taimoana. The cost estimate for that that work is coming out at $4 million at this point in time. Now, I believe you've been provided with some draft plans. So I might just scoot through those, just take them as read, I guess, unless there's just.
Yeah, it'd be good to go through them slowly, but you come back to them.
Yeah, I'll come. We've got a whole point after this. So option B is the improve existing and make safer. That includes chip seal renewal between Hawke Street and 187 Marine Parade, replacement of deep dish channel between Lonsdale Street and 142 Marine Parade, 7 safe speed platforms and 1 speed hump. The minor bus stop improvements. So again, that's marked bus stops, tactile pavers, seating where space permits, sealed waiting areas, and the removal of the same 3 bus stops. So that also includes painted on-road cycle lanes between Hawke Street and Bow Hill Road. This will require the removal of 170 car parks, and you still gain those 2 mobility car parks.
107.
Sorry, 107. Sorry, and 2 mobility parks near Hepuna Taimoana.
Sorry, why are you removing the bus stops?
So that was suggested in consultation with ECAN. So there's 2 bus stops near Rafferty that are quite close to other bus stops. I think it's about 200 or 300 metres between the bus stops. So the suggestion was to remove those. And then the ones near Hepuna Taimoana, the observation was that they get used up by cars, really. There's not really that much demand for buses at that point. And there's one actually on Hawke Street as well, heading into town, and the idea was to change those to mobility parks to give some more mobility parking in the area.
Okay.
That actually leads on quite nicely to any questions.
Yanni and then Jackie.
Yeah, sorry, how many passengers a day use those bus stops?
No, we didn't. We can. Sorry. we can get the information for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite fundamental to, if we're going to remove them, we need to know how many people are going to be impacted. I thought we had a policy about having bus stops within a certain distance of each other.
500 metres.
500 metres? Yeah, is that the standard that we have?
So the ones that are being removed, it'll be, I think there's about 300 metres at most between the next bus stop. So it'll,
Be well within that 500.
yeah,
Is
it's well
that,
within it.
sorry, but is that our minimum standard is 500 metres between bus stops? Is that what the actual?
Yeah, that's, I believe that's generally the policy.
Yeah. It's 500 metres. Yeah. And just, have we done any surveys, parking surveys since the new Williams Court have gone in? Because when I go through there, like, it's constantly got cars. I mean, I don't see much spare capacity. So I'm just wondering, trying to understand that. Sorry, I can't quite remember when we did the parking surveys originally. So what developments happened since? But yeah, they do seem very, very congested.
Yeah, so we did 2 parking surveys, one in winter and one in summer. That information was provided in the last briefing, I believe, but I've got the numbers, I can go through it today as well.
Yeah, it was just whether is that post the construction and the selling and the people living in the Williams Court ones? Because every time I've been
There's
down
still more developments that are coming.
there seems to be way more cars than what I've ever seen before.
So the summer one should have accommodated the building that's happened on there. But that was in November as well.
Yeah, it was done in November.
I don't think they would have been. Do you guys know? Like,
I don't think they would have been.
they would have been.
Oh,
It
Yeah, they
just-
went.
Can one person at a time, please?
And then additionally to that, there's a new development going in down the road, which also won't be taken into account because they've been built yet.
Joe, do you want to add any information there?
Yeah, just with the Williams Court ones, there's a lot of Airbnbs now. So the cars come and go all the time, and even camper vans, because they stay the night and then they disappear and the cleaners come and
And just the only other question I had is, have we found any coal tar, or when are we doing the coal tar investigations?
So the coal tar investigations we done as part of detailed design. We have allowed for it in the current cost estimate for removal and disposal. We'll be doing that.
Just because the reason I'm asking is obviously we know with the other craft projects, we haven't even got to detailed design and we've shelved them because of the cost. So
But he just said that it's being incorporated into the cost estimate. So
no, so was Ryan Street.
was it?
But it's just obviously when you do the more detailed stuff, and we've got other transport projects as well, the council are now blowing up by a couple of mil because of coal tar. So
There's more coal tar than they anticipated, yeah.
So is there a way to get, before we go down this engagement, to do some investigative work to find out the extent of the coal tar, so we're not hit with a massive budget increase?
I believe as part of the work done a couple of years ago, there was some coal tar testing done, and that was what was used to for the basis of the design.
So there's some objective basis.
Yeah,
estimate, yeah.
And as a sort of I guess baseline, we've assumed that we're going to hit coal tar. So we've included that within the cost estimate.
I mean, based on that, before it comes back to the board, I would like to get more information, like Innes Road's just blown out. So because of the coal tar, and they're in the middle of construction. So, and we know with Lion Street, depending on where you test and how many times you test, that would be just good to get an understanding of the risk assessment around that.
I think it's fair enough, yeah, considering experience with Wyatt and Herbert Street and what's happened, as Yanni says, before it actually goes out to consultation to know whether it is going to blow out, if that's possible. Jackie.
sorry, I just want to go back to the bus stops because I can't add it up in my head, saying that there's a bus stop, you're removing a bus stop because it was within 200 metres of another bus stop and it was little used, but that I just want an assurance that you're not going over that 500 metres between those bus stops. Now, if you take one out that was 200 metres, that means the next one was like 300 metres away.
Yeah.
So I want to ensure that you're not going beyond that 500 metres on that bus stop, because while half a K doesn't seem like a lot to a fit person, it's an awfully long way for someone who doesn't.
So just on the plans, probably it might be easier for me to show you. There's one opposite Lonsdale Street.
Yep.
That one's going to stay. One's proposed to stay. There is one sort of halfway between Lonsdale and Barfity. That one there is one that we're proposing to remove.
Okay.
Okay, so, and then,
So,
so that would pick up like existing Rafiki people, people from Rafiki across, and then just go down a little bit further.
okay, so what is the distance between the one that you're leaving at the end of Lonsdale Street and the next one?
So between that one
Yeah,
and that one,
Yeah.
it's about 200 metres.
well, that's the one you're removing.
That's one of the ones we're removing.
Okay, so what is the distance between the Lonsdale Street one and the next one that you're not removing? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, the one we're not removing is, it's down by the surf club, near Boham. But you do have the park in between as well, so you won't have as much catchment of people.
True, if they're not going to the park, but is that more or less than 500 metres?
I can get you the number, but it's about the catchment of the residential area.
Well, I think what Jackie wants to know is the distance.
I'm interested in the distance because people do get off the bus to go to the park. It may not be that frequent, but I do know that when we removed bus stops over in the Linwood-Bromley area, we were making the walk to a bus stop too hard for some people because it went over that 500 metres and some of them were like 700 metres. So I'm just wanting to check that the distance between the two that are remaining.
All right. Thanks, Jackie. You got Alex and then Celeste and then Joe.
Yeah, just following up Jackie's question, sort of asked mine a little bit different. So you mentioned the 300 metres between the bus stop that you're removing and the next one. So just to sum up Jackie's point and maybe potentially add an additional query to that, is the 300 metres the distance between the bus stops on each side being removed, or 300 metres between the middle and third? And what's that distance between them? So summing up Jackie's
I just want to know the distance between the two that are staying.
So you mentioned before that there's 300 metres between them, but you didn't specify if that was between the first and the third.
Oh,
the one,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the middle.
Sorry, just for clarification. Whoops, sorry. That's actually from the top end of Rafiki to that bus stop there.
Yeah, there's 300 metres. That's
sorry, that one.
Gotcha. Yeah, so just cool. So just following up on Jackie's query, be interested.
Yeah, we can maybe just give you a map of the distances.
Cool.
Maybe it'll be easiest.
Right. Celeste?
Can I just, what's left in the program budget? Because we know the project costs, right, but what's the program budget in?
To turn off. So the program budget is 2.5 million. We've spent some already doing investigating.
2.5.
Yeah. So I'd say about 2 million.
So the total amount of money allocated to us for craft was how much?
6.5 million.
6.5 million. So the projects range between 4 and 4.5.
Yeah, so the project budget allocated was $2 million and there was 2.5 left in the program.
So taking it to 4.5 in total. So originally it was allocated for this project 2, but it's going to cost 4 to 4.5.
Just remaining over.
But there won't be any after this project.
Sorry. So the overall total program budget is 6.5. And then when the project came for Marine Parade, $4 million was drawn down and $2.5 million was sitting in the program. And then about somebody was spent to do investigation work. And so that's gone down to us to say 2 million. So when we came back to you guys last time, we talked about the 4 options we presented. And one of the options, most options were over the program and project budget.
So for it's the 2 million left in the program budget, there is a suggestion to put that towards some things on Boham Road, is that right?
Yeah, there are the projects, that was selected by the board. Yeah.
At the last briefing, there was a question about if we wanted to put all the money, the program level budget towards Marine Parade, bearing in mind that there is cost escalations and we don't want to sort of overpromise and under-deliver because the budgets are getting tighter. What work is being done to look at that option?
spoke to Kelly, who is the program manager for this. She just, the answer she gave us was that once we've got the final cost done for the project, then there will be a decision made.
As to what's determined.
Yeah.
So if required, in relation to say Yanni's point, the project ends up being costed out at say 5 million, that would come out of the program with the budget for marine parade.
Correct.
Then different question, in terms of the scope of the project, one of the things that was asked was whether I just want to see that it's covering off some of the safety concerns. I see there's pedestrian crossing and both designs, I think, or where you cross to the hot pools. So that's in both designs, is it?
It's an intersection, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Were there any other safety improvements? It's just hard to see sometimes on the screen for across both designs for that particular intersection.
For that particular intersection, it was a pedestrian island on the Hawke Street approach and then a zebra crossing on the southern side of the intersection. And then also changing the priority to stop. So that's common to both projects. And then we've also, following safety audit, we've got improvements to the car park, the Marine Parade car park. Yeah. Going into the surf club. So that's that has go through for both projects.
So two questions in relation to the crossing. Will there a pedestrian crossing on the other side? So where you've got the Workingmen's Club?
Yeah, so that one there is an informal crossing, which is we'll retain that as it stands, just because there's a high volume of turning traffic and just trying to. There were some concerns raised at the last community board meeting about congestion concerns from having like two zebras across there, so we took that one out.
Sorry, just a little point, but if you want to cross on that side, apart from that intersection, that you just pointed out, is there going to be another pedestrian crossing along that section? Because there's a lot of people crossing on that side that might want.
So we do have one in option B. There's a crossing there, just sort of between what is the existing two bus stops. But with the option A, there is no plans for an additional crossing.
And final question for the moment is, when you're talking about the ramp going up, because I know that there was a few concerns expressed to us about the condition of that ramp, so it would make sense to just get that in improvement. Will that be part of it, in terms of resealing the ramp that heads up?
Yes, we will look. I think we'll look at doing some improvement to that.
Resurfacing of that, double cost, so we have to come back and do that. Otherwise, that's great. Thank you.
Well, follow up on this.
Joe's been waiting for quite a while, so Joe, you can come back to you,
thank you.
Alex.
So just on the buses, I'm really keen to get community input for this because, as Jackie said about the people wanting to use graffiti domain, and of course the Eastern Sports have got a whole scope of sports clubs that actually use that, and people could bus to and from there, and keeping the one close to it might be worthwhile. But keen to get people's input into that. The new path that's just been put down along that section between Graffiti and Lonsdale, will that have to be brought up to put the curbs in, and will it be brought back to what it is at the current state?
Sorry, which bit are you referring to, sorry?
Between Graffiti and Lonsdale Street, there's brand new ceiling on the path. It's really nice and smooth.
On the footpath?
Yes.
On the, yeah. Yes, it will need to be redone, assuming you're talking about that bit there. Sorry. That there?
There's Lonsdale.
Lonsdale's up there.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
right across
okay.
all the way to Graffiti and.
Yeah, so we'll need to,
We'll need to
change that just to accommodate the stormwater changes to accommodate the curb and flat.
Yeah, there was a new wiring or something went underneath, so the pump was already done and it's actually nice and smooth. And it'll be good to get it back to that state afterwards.
Yeah, so it'll be basically completely redone.
Cool. And the other thing is the ramp entrance, that wasn't brought up at the first initial stages. I'm really concerned just about the configuration of it because being a surf lifesaver and having to tow gear trailers up and down there, it actually gets a wee bit tight at times. And putting islands and everything in the middle could be quite hard to actually get around and back with some of those large trailers full of skis and boards. So has that been considered?
So what we have designed it for are sort of, it's called medium trucks. So things like rubbish trucks, medium-sized furniture vans, those sorts of vehicles. If there's a specific configuration, we can test it, but that was the basis of the design.
Yeah, and I think you brought the stop sign out further into the road, is that right?
Yeah, we'll bring it forward a little bit to try and improve visibility.
Yeah, and also with the visibility, it would have been good to a couple more yellow lines going that way, so when you can actually look past the cars that are parked there.
Yep.
If you know what I mean,
Yep.
like when you go to head out and you look that way, there's always cars parked along there, and it's actually hard to actually see, so you sneak out a wee bit further to try and look past them. But yeah, it's all good. And as we said about tidying up that entrance to the ramp, it's really important to do that before you actually put any islands or anything on top of it as well, because it's a real mess. And every winter the potholes just reappear and reappear. So yeah, thank you.
All right, Alex, and then Jackie and then Greg.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great if the ramp's included, but I'm just wanting to clarify, because it's my understanding that we asked staff about renewing the surface of the ramp, and they told us it's a few years off, and it's very expensive. It's my understanding that renewing that ramp would cost significantly more than the project budget. So I'm just wanting to clarify, are you saying that the entire car park and surface will be renewed as part of this project, or just the entrance?
Just the entrance.
Right.
Right. Jackie.
I'd just like to understand why we have laid new tile ceiling along the footpath that is perfect and pristine, and we are now going to enter into a project that's going to damage that new pristine footpath and have to be redone. Given that we're looking at a massive rate increase for our residents in the city, I don't understand why we would go ahead and tar seal the footpath and make it beautiful, only to dig it up again when we do this project. Well, not of that, you know, I mean, I appreciate that maybe you didn't have anything to do with the tar sealing of the footpath, but seriously, this is like, we've spent all this money and we're just going to rip it up. Who do we actually talk to about not having to do this over and over? We see it all the time, where a footpath or a road is dug up and it's beautiful and it's pristine, and a couple of weeks later someone else comes along. Where is the cohesiveness between the people that are actually doing the digging and the laying and the fixing and the talking to you guys? Where does that come in, and who is actually responsible for making sure that this does not happen?
I think Joe said there was a wiring work, so if it's enable work, then it's nothing to do with us. It's a different.
Okay, so that's different. I understand there's a different company, but do you not talk to each other? I mean, if they were going to do the cabling, it may be that they've gone, okay, well, yeah, we can put this cabling off until next year when we do your relay.
If it was a new development and cabling needed to be done, it would have been done ASAP to get connection to the houses.
And does that then mean that the ceiling of that footpath fell onto the builders of the new development?
Possibly, unless only because I don't have enough information about that area, but I can find out. Yeah.
I just want to raise concern around this, because we have people coming to us all the time saying, why is this road being dug up again? And you dug it up last week and you dug it up last year, and and it's over and over. But we never actually get anywhere was getting people to talk to each other, so you do your work at the same time.
It is something that residents do find frustrating. I know it's be good to know that, you know, where the cost falls. But I guess, yeah, now we know that this has happened and happening. Did you have anything else to add?
No, I just see it happening all the time.
All right, Greg.
Thanks. Yeah, I echo probably not quite as aggressively as Jean.
Passionately.
Okay, passionately. Yeah, I see the same thing and do hope that as a council process or even a consenting process for other works to go ahead, if there can be something even just logged in the system for people to look at any upcoming works, it'd be fantastic to stop double spending. It's going to save developers money that are going into works in the area, or they could be covering some of the council costs in that situation too. So it'd be great if something like that did happen. Also echoing Joe's thoughts on the turning into the ramp there. Yeah, while it's allowed for, you're saying a medium-sized truck, those trailers are really long, some of those boats and things on them. So I think possibly having to just double check the length of what the surf club requires into that space, because I hate to again see something done like this and then find out 6 weeks later that it's not going to be fit for purpose because it's a little bit more than a delivery truck.
There's years ago on Birdwood, Northwood and Beckenham, they were putting in narrowing street and what is now Fire Emergency New Zealand didn't think that they'd be able to get their fire truck through. And so the community board went down and they stood on the corner and they worked out together how, you know, exactly how wide it could be, and they came up with a really good outcome. So it might be worth doing that with the surf club. You have another question, Alex?
I was really wanting to clarify really quickly. So can we just make sure that the surf club's consultant would get the length of their trailers and put that into the model / design, so it's taken into account?
Cool. Celeste, and then is that
Just following up on what Alex said, New Brighton surf clubs don't have to use it very often because they've got all the gear here, so it's all the other surf clubs going to New Brighton.
So a standard sort of surf club trailer length.
Yeah.
All right. Is the presentation finished?
Okay, but online.
We've got
Okay.
2 slides to go through.
All right. Can we keep moving because we're over time?
Cool. So just in terms of consultation, obviously there's a few bits and pieces that you've asked for. So timeframes may shift slightly, but we're hoping for mid-May. So we'll go out for consultation for a month. And at this stage, we're planning to ask people to select their preferred option, so option A or option B. Yes, the board previously has asked us to add a do nothing option. So obviously the project team has recommended not to do that, just from the risk that it carries around the money spent on the project. But it is ultimately your decision. If you want to consult on that, you can. For consultation, we'll be doing a lot of the usual stuff, so it'll be on our online platform, Korero Mai Let's Talk. We'll do some direct engagement with the residents on Marine Parade. Those are going to be directly impacted by those changes. Obviously, the New Brighton community groups and our key transport stakeholders. I've noted down your points around the surf clubs and things like that. We will do some token boxes at the library, so if people don't want to go online to make a submission and they don't have time to, they can go onto the library and stick a token in option A or option B if they like. We'll do the same thing at the New Brighton market. We'll also have some targeted marketing, and we're hoping to get some 3D images made up of what those options look like. Obviously the plans are quite hard to read, so we'll try and get those made up so that the public can really have a good understanding what the difference is between the two.
Right, Jackie, Alex, and then Joe.
Yes, like this.
And then Yanni. Oh, sorry, you're holding a question. Okay, I will allow it.
Okay, so I jump in. Just in terms of the list, is it possible to consult some of the, say, the high schools and things, because people travel along that road to get to Avonside.
Yeah, absolutely, we can add them to the list.
Yeah, and some of the other schools in the area. And the other question was, I'm pretty sure you have sorted that in the design, but if you're travelling along in either option, that main road, the Marine Parade on a bike, we've got those curb build outs, which means you're going in and out of traffic. Both designs get rid of those, do they? In terms of, except for the entrance way to the
It's only option B we would put it in, providing on-road cycle lanes. For option A, everything else is all just like, it's all just as existing. It's just the renewal and the curving channel that's being done as part of that line with two.
So you won't be looking at whether some of those could build outs, which mean that when the road narrows, bikes have to move into the centre of the lane and hold back traffic, so that actually creates quite a safety hazard.
Yeah, so the reason that they'll be there is because you've got parking possible of, along the park. And so those build outs are there so that if people are crossing at those build outs, they can see past cars and if they may be parked there.
I just want to flag that as a safety concern, because I drive along that road every day and I've seen cyclists go along the side of the road and then have to move out into traffic and then move to the side, so they're kind of weaving back and forth. So whilst pedestrian crossings are important, we'll also be able to get from A to B without having to kind of move in and out of traffic. So whether or not you've got a painted lane, you still need to be able to go straight through. So just flagging that as a concern that I thought would be addressed in the design. So
Do you have a follow-up on this?
Specifically, are you saying that option B includes an on-road cycleway that takes into account those curves?
Yeah.
So if you're wanting that, at least you could look at option B.
no,
Thank you.
my point isn't that it's not an option B. My point is that option A also just needs to be safe. So you don't need a pin cycleway to travel along the verge shoulder of the road. So just taking that into consideration. Thanks. That's all my questions.
All right, Jackie.
Just a question around consultation. When you say you're going to consult with the residents on Marine Parade, does that include that you're going to door knock on Marine Parade and ask them?
Yeah, so these days we've moved away from door knocking per se because 90% of the time when we go there, nobody's home. So what we do is we have this little get in touch slip that basically says, hey, we're about to do a project, or we're consulting on a project that's going to affect the street outside your house, and we really want to talk to you. Contact us in these ways to book a time, and then the project team can come out and speak with them directly. So it's just about trying to find that balance for people around, what works for them.
Okay, because what we found over the last year or so is that when you have gone door knocking, no one's been home. And when we go out to the residents, they say we haven't heard anything. And one of the residents then did a door knock on a Saturday, and he found that like 60% people didn't even know what was happening. It's the reasons, sorry, don't say. So when you say, is that just the letterbox drop that you're talking about?
That is, yes.
Okay, right. Is it, you say you're stepping away from door knocking because people are not home. Have you looked at the possibility of doing door knock on a Saturday when people might be home? Because, obviously going out during the week, people are not home. I just, trying to find a way that people can be consulted better, because if you're just putting a slip of paper into the letterbox, it can get wrapped up with newspapers and it's just flagged.
Yeah, the research on that says you need to put something in 7 times for something for everyone to get it.
So an addressed envelope is more likely to be seen by a resident than a bit of paper that you just posted through a letterbox. I'm just concerned because we've had so many people come to us recently who said we didn't even know about this, and we've been told it's been door knocked. And we've got no record of who was door knocked, who was spoken to, what was said, or who that.
That's a good point, Jackie. Sorry to interrupt again, but is that when if people do door knocking, it's good to have a record of where it was door knocked and notes, because that didn't happen in that aforementioned case.
It didn't happen in that case, and we had 2 totally different scenarios being presented to us by the residents and by the council saying, we door knocked all these houses. And we spoke to X number of people, and then we had X number of people saying, no one can hear us. I'm just saying, if you're going to put it into the box, it might need to be an addressed envelope, if that is at all possible.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Take your point on that, and I can't speak for other projects, but if staff said we've door knocked a property, we have. But I take your point on people not being home. This is a low significance project in terms of our significance and engagement policy. So we can look at doing door knocking in other timeframes. we can look at doing it outside of normal hours.
Jackie, can we, I've just got two other people who've.
All right, just one statement. It may be low significance for council, it's not low significance to the residents. Thanks.
Alex and Joey.
Yeah, okay, so I'm really quick. So in terms of targeted marketing, I assume you also include Facebook boosting within that and community groups that you're often consulting with already on Facebook.
Yeah, so there's two sort of types of that marketing. So there is actual Facebook and Google Ads, digital marketing, and then our news and media team will share it within the local community group Facebook pages.
Wonderful, thank you.
Joe.
Okay, I'm really keen to get this out for consultation, and let the people actually respond to it, so we can make decisions on what they want. What I want to know is, you're not just gonna say option A or option B, you're gonna ask for feedback on those options?
Yeah, so we'll have a tick box for people to say option A or option B, and then an opportunity for them to provide feedback on their solution. We can, if the board would prefer, we can ask people to provide feedback on both options. You know, is there something you like about option A? Is there something you don't like about option A? Those types of things we could do for both. We wouldn't necessarily probably be able to have them required fields, but it could help filter.
I think it would be easier to just say option A or option B, and then just ask for feedback.
Yeah.
And then we can actually look at the feedback.
So we'll definitely allow the opportunity to write
But I
down
think,
feedback.
just going out for consultation, I think there'll be a lot of people interested, and they'll share the news that it's coming out, so I don't think we'd try too hard.
Yeah, so on that note, I think it would be really, we do have another item that we, do you have a specific question?
Yeah, you already called me.
Oh, sorry.
Just two quick points. One is,
Question.
question is this coming to community board in draft before it goes out for consultation, or do we not make a decision on it?
You talk about the scheme plans?
Yeah, I'm just deeply worried about the cost flow up, and like if we compare to Wyland Street, I'm really worried that in the next steps, we've got a massive amount of engagement before we know what the costs are.
We can provide all the information that you've asked for today in a memo.
Right.
In terms of coal tar testing and how much.
Yeah, okay.
So can I just
like,
and just going, because I agreed with you, when you raised this before, if we just want to know if there's going to be a cost blowout or not, if you get the information and there's not, cool. If there is going to be a cost blow up, then that will change the position of the board potentially.
Yeah.
Sorry, and what was your second?
Yeah, well, just understanding, like, because what I'm struggling to understand is how we can get in a position with Wine Street where we've got a massive cost blow up before we've even gone out for consultation. And with this one, we're going out for consultation before we know what the costs are going to be, and if any help in understanding the difference. But then the other thing was, has there been any public engagement in coming up with the designs? Because I don't see any community meeting, and it would seem to me that, you know, our first principle should be actually bringing people together to help develop the design rather than just going out with options.
So can I just want to make a comment on this? This is something that started in the previous community board that's been through a lengthy process and is already now 6 months behind schedule. I don't want to hold it up any longer. I'm quite happy for it to go out for consultation, provided that we know it's not going to have a huge cost blowout. You may want to answer in terms of engagement with community groups and stakeholders and stuff, but I just want to say, like, this will not get done if we hold it up. That's the risk. We could come up with a better process, but we're here now and 6 months behind.
Yeah, I guess I'm concerned, like, in terms of option A, that there's no cycling provision. And I would like us to go out with two options that did have cycling provision.
We've discussed, we've worked through all of this.
Okay.
You're going backwards. This is where we are.
Okay.
Process question.
Process question?
Yeah, so my first part of the question is this the last meeting before it goes out for consultation?
Correct.
And then therefore, were you going to give as a board guidance on whether or not we include the third option to leave?
I think that might be what they're wanting for us before they go.
Okay, so before we move on to the next.
Yeah, because this is the end of the presentation. You just want to know around.
Yeah. Great.
All right, we'll come back to that. Celeste.
This could be called a process question, but before it goes out for consultation, to Yanni's point, in regards to the questions that have been raised around the bus stops and things, whether they're going to be included in what goes out for consultation, will we get to get that information before it goes out? Like, what's the process so we can get the information and loop back in? Likewise for option A, to Yanni's point again about option A isn't about adding in a cycling provision, it's taking away something that makes it less safe for cyclists. So there is existing curb build outs which I think make it less safe. So I just want to make sure that if we're going to replace something that will make it less safe for people using that road, not just in a car, that we're not replacing that in the actual design. So can we get feedback on that before it comes back or goes out for public consultation?
So let me just bring up the question. So the first question was whether or not, well, whatever question's been asked today will come back before it goes up for consultation. Yes, it will. We'll gather all the information and all the questions that's been asked and reply back in a memo for everyone to have a look at, and then the plan will be going up for consultation.
And I guess to say to the board that we will sign off. It'll come back. It'll be consulted on. It'll come back,
Correct.
and then we will approve one of those two options, potentially with some changes, because that's what the consultation will allow. So it's not, the two options aren't set in concrete exactly as they are. Let's see what the public says in response and then make changes, because otherwise the risk is that how many more months could it potentially take? And this is one of the very annoying things about the whole craft process, and also that the previous community board took quite a while with this as well. So my suggestion is that we say what we want in terms of consulting on no change or not, and then we let the staff consult. We've given them the information around some specifics from our local knowledge, which is really good. And I think particularly doing some work with the surf club to make sure that it's actually viable.
Yeah.
So can we? I think that's what we should do. I'm not sure that any other kind of course is viable.
In which case, can we allow people to give feedback on both options, so that if we go with, say, option A, people that might have a preference for safety over road service can comment on both, when we get a balance of views?
Yeah, I'll make sure that there's a comment box for both, regardless of what people select.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And then, so I'm just interested finally, and then we will need to move on to the next one. Do we want them to consult on no change?
Yes.
No.
No. Okay, well, that's pretty clear. Because people can just say no.
Yeah, if they really don't.
It
want they can
tends
go
to
up
come
and all
through
this.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would it be an option not to support either option? But that's what we just
That's what
talked
we
about.
just said,
Yeah.
Oh, but there's
that there's not.
so that-
Yeah, but although it's pretty easy for people to indicate that they don't.
Yeah, they can point to
All right.
lines
Text
all
box.
over and go, you don't
Yep,
want
all
No,
right.
there won't be a text box.
Well, there is a text box.
Okay, stop, please. Just,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Oh, thanks, Mike.
All right, we'll just have a 30-second breather, and then we'll come back to talk about the red zone. in New Brighton and around the world. Right. Kia ora, Dave.
Thanks.
And I believe we have some people from the Burwood East Residents Association. Yep. As well. So thank you for joining us.
Great. Just on the slightly off topic, but just on coal tar, obviously it's a big pain for us. We're doing a piece of work at the moment with Canterbury Uni and one of the big sort of industry players on ways to mitigate that effectively on site or just slightly off site. And it's showing quite good promise. So still a few months off being able to announce that, but it's looking quite good. Obviously it would save a lot of money on a lot of projects if we can crack it. But anyway, back on topic. So road stopping, this all kicked off maybe about a month ago when Vera got in touch to talk about the roads in the Brooker and Stour area. And it's much more efficient on staff time to, if you're going to look at something, to look at a whole lot of different things on the same topic at once. So we thought, well, there's a few others that we could possibly look at the same time. So that includes three what I think are relatively easy ones related to individual property matters at Kingsford, Halverston and Loxley. Then a couple, I was hoping Kelly would be here actually because one of them relates to something he brought up, but a couple where we probably want to talk to the sort of directly impacted neighbours before making any decisions. And then a slightly meatier topic down at Retreat Road. And I've got a few details on each of those coming up. So looking at the details, the first of them is the Brooker and Stour area. So what I'm doing typically with these is showing a map of the current status of the roads, which is on the left with the aerial, and then a map showing the district plan version of the regeneration plan, which is effectively the future vision for the corridor. So on the aerial photo with the roads as they currently stand, the yellow are in-service roads, so roads that are currently open. The dark grey are roads that are out of service and which have been legally stopped through the Lynn Superlot process. Any road that's in service and open in yellow is required to be fully open. We asked Transport if we could put gates on any of these roads to deal with some of the antisocial behaviour, but the answer was no. You've got to stop them if you want to gate them. So that's where this all was initiated. So Vera got in touch talking about the antisocial behaviour, particularly at night on Brooker Ave and Stour Drive. A lot of our roads that run through the red zone aren't very well surveyed at night, and that leads to people hooning around. And then also, particularly on the weekends, they like to drop their rubbish off, and then our rangers have to go through on Monday morning and clean up all the rubbish. So that's the current status, and then I'll move to the proposal. So this is the proposal. I was busy the night of the Vera meeting, so I didn't get to go along, but my understanding is that this is the proposal that Vera are supporting, which is to close off Brooker and Stour, leaving Vivian Street open to access that part of the suburb. Worth noting that Denell Sports Park, the playground there, is still in use.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes, you can. I'm more than happy to take questions as we go through.
Okay, because that's a really cool park.
Yeah, it is.
So, and it is well used, and because I have a son who's highly autistic, and he loves that park, and it has. So I am familiar with it, and it's in pretty good nick. It would seem a real shame to lose it. Surely there must be some way that we can retain it in place for the public by doing something creative with those roads. So that, because it just seems like a big waste.
Yeah, so part of my point on this one is that we do need to consider that park. There's currently no plans to remove any of those facilities because they are in good shape. We just spent a bit of money doing the drainage and under the Flying Fox there because it was struggling quite badly.
Yep.
But overall, it's in good nick. If I go back to the previous screen,
is this on this too, Joe?
It doesn't exist in the regen plan, so it is up for being removed. But there's no need to do it imminently. My thinking's always been that we do that when it was sort of up for renewal, so a few years down the track, and possibly look at, this is working, moving it into this space down here, so closer to people.
Which space, sorry?
Down in this sort of orange trail house.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
just a little bit more close to the community, easier for people to get to, and also less remote, so less chance of naughty behaviour.
Joe, I think, had a question on.
But again, yeah, it doesn't really make sense to move it just yet because it's in such good condition. So we're thinking about ways that we could continue to access that with having these roads stopped. And I just remind people that stopping a road doesn't mean we'll close the road. It just gives us the ability to do that. But we can still keep them open and running. There's plenty of roads that are stopped through the red zone that have still got traffic on them.
Yeah, so just a bit of background on that for the other board members. This came to our board last June, and because the previous board to that had actually put a lot of money into actually fixing up that park because it had earthquake damage, and there was a lot of investment in that park, and we wanted the roads kept open for access in. But you know, that might change now, but it would be good for people to still be able to access that park quite easily, because I agree with Paul, it's a gem. And with the other things that were happening, that park, is the Eco Sanctuary still happening, Dave?
It is, yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
So where do they get access?
So they don't need any particular roading access. They haven't got very detailed plans. They're sort of more talking in terms of big picture ecological thinking rather than exactly where access points would be.
Yeah, because at one stage that was going to be that access into some part of the sanctuary.
You wouldn't really want a road going right through the sanctuary because then you get all the sort of edge impacts, and you want as much of that to be undisturbed as you can.
Okay, and I take it this will just go out to consultation before it's decided?
The recommendation that's going to come through in the report is that we don't need to. And the reason for that is that the regeneration plan was heavily consulted on and doesn't feature these roads. So we are recommending that that's probably over consultation, doesn't need to happen, but the board can decide on that. We can consult if we
Yeah,
need to.
I just get concerned because I know a lot of people out the side of town didn't input into the plan.
Yeah.
So it would be really good to just be able to get their feedback on it before we make a decision.
Yeah, so I guess that's probably a question from me, for maybe Cindy or for the chair. The report is written and approved for the 6th of May, and then we were going to have this session to sort of talk about it before the report. So can we still change the report if we want to change the report, or do we just talk about it on the day and then vary the resolutions?
That would be your call at this stage. You can speak to your upline. If you, after following today's briefing information session, you want to go out and do a round of consultation, we can push the report out, and we'll just reverse the authorisation for you to tweak the report if anything following consultation changes.
Okay.
However, if you're happy with the approach in which you're taking, we can bring it to the next meeting of the board, and then whatever resolution the board decide will then determine the next course of action.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing I was worried about just with closing some of these roads was, have you consulted with FENS about like fire and emergency, about getting into that community if there's an emergency situation?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
All right.
Just another point on the playground. We thought maybe one way to kind of achieve everything would be to get it legally stopped, which would then allow us to stop Stour and then maybe put a gate at the corner of Stour and at the corner of New Brighton Road. And then our rangers could basically open that gate up. They were talking about closing it at dusk being more of a problem for them. So it might be that we work with a local community member or someone like that we can find. But given that we spend so much of our time pulling rubbish out of here, I think they'd be more than happy to close gates or even to fund a contractor who goes around, because it would still save money overall.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. We obviously want to reduce the antisocial behaviour and dumping and stuff, but it's just at the moment we have a cool park.
Yeah, and most of that behaviour happens at night. So the gate idea is one that does seem to work.
Yeah, cool.
Moving on to the next one. So these ones should be pretty straightforward, I think. First one of these is Kingsford on the left. So we had a former resident that lived in this house here, which is why the road was open from Broomfield onwards. She actually had a key to a gate that was down here, and she could come and go. She sadly died, and the house has been removed. So there's no need to keep that road open. So the suggestion is that we just gate that off at Broomfield. Similarly, this house here at Loxley Ave, next to the Flatwater Hub, we purchased that house last year. So again, there's no need to continue these roads in the current configuration. Just a little point is that these pink lines here are actually new roads in the region plan, which have been surveyed and superlotted by our LINs. So the idea is generally that we would keep our roads open up until those points to save having to make new roads later on. And the last one, which I might actually just move to the next slide, is Holston Drive. So we've got another stayer and 132 Holston. He's got a driveway access out to Holston Drive there. That's problematic from our point of view because it means that our future stop bank has to make a big bend around him, and it complicates the city to see. And so we've been working with him over the last few months to redo his access to come in this way, which would then allow us to close this little bit of Holston and Chardale, which also eliminates some antisocial behaviour that's going on through there because it's sort of a dog leg that's out of sight. So those all seem to affect one party, two of which are gone, and the third of which is happy with the proposal. So this one seems reasonably low risk.
Cool.
Now, this is the first of two where we probably look at discussing with affected residents. So this is Sutton Place area. Sutton Place is a little cul-de-sac that runs in through here, and they currently access out through the red zone, and they can either go north around here or south down here. And the rangers have reported that this becomes a little racetrack that people hoon around, and that it's not really benefiting the residents overly much to have these two options. It's not saving them a huge amount of time. We've also talked to the local leaseholders in this area who are happy with the change and would support a change. And again, just note that these roads don't exist in the region plan. They're sort of a remnant of some agreements that were made previously. And the pink line shows the new road that will be created for the purple, which is the fringe housing in the region plan. So on this one, obviously we've got to keep access open to Sutton, so that road stays open, as do the roads which are leading to the new road which will be created. But then it feels like we've got an option to discuss with those residents whether they'd be happy to remove one or the other of these arms to their access. We think that they'll be supportive because of the naughty behaviour, but if they're really against it, then we wouldn't push it. So the idea is that we go and have a chat to them. Probably all off on that one. No one's got any questions.
The cost of building the new road.
So any new roads that are associated with the fringe housing, we believe we put in by the developer. So we don't know yet the mechanism for how those will get offered to the market, but when someone gets hold of that piece of land, they put the road in as well. So the road corridor has been created by LINs.
As we've seen in some other places, when we get like an outline development plan, until they subdivide, there's no guarantee that anything in the outline plan will come. And so in some cases, people can wait literally for years and years and years. So I'm just kind of wondering if, when we consult with the residents, I think it would be good to have a sense of the timing around that new road.
We're not going to have a sense of the timing of the new road because that's a co-governance decision. It's not really on their radar. They're currently sort of all steam ahead at trying to set up the permanent co-governance entity.
Okay, so basically we can't really count on the new road as being an option for residents. We
certainly can't give them a timing. So they'll still have an access via one or the other of these. So either they'll go out here and up around here, or they'll go out here and down around here. This sort of future road, I don't know if they'd all be aware of it, but I don't think that this proposal really hinges on that.
Yep. Right, Joe?
Yeah, so you're going to go and have consultation with this community.
Yeah.
Is it going to come back to the board?
Yes, yeah, that's the plan, yeah.
So can't the same thing happen for that Burwood one?
Again, it just means it happens more slowly.
Okay.
So this is an interesting one. This one wasn't really on our radar, but Kelly said that some of the residents in here had contacted him and were interested in looking at whether or not this bit of the road could be closed off. The road does exist in the region plan, so this one's a little bit different to some of the earlier ones where those roads weren't in the region plan. And again, this is one where we'd want to talk to the impacted residents here. apparently this is used as a late night racetrack again, and their thinking is that if this was closed off, that would then become, I guess, that traffic would divert down here and not be as problematic. From our point of view, probably doesn't make a huge amount of difference. There's not a huge amount of dumping that we have to deal with through here, but it's possibly because it's starting to head a little bit outside of the corridor, so maybe it's picked up by someone else. But because it's on the radar, we thought it'd be, and it's similar to the ones at Sutton, it's probably not a bad one to deal with at the same time. We don't have any sense of whether or not that's a widely held view or whether it was just one or two residents getting in touch with Kelly. So again, here we do some direct consultation and report the results back.
Yeah, I think a lot of people actually use it to go to the playground, just at the corner there.
Yeah, they could do, yeah.
Yeah, so because the playground's tucked in the corner right next to the closure. So, and then there's the walking tracks and everything, which originate from that area across from that background.
Yeah, so the thing is that up in here, if you can see where my red dot is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thinking is if we stop it, I think that's Tompkins Lane just there. If we were to stop that grey section, we would probably put a gate of some sort in there and then still allow people to access all of that space during daytime hours.
Which section on using the pointer, can you show me which section are you talking about closing?
So it'd be all the dark grey.
Oh, so that bit that goes beyond. Yeah.
Remembering that this one here was actually, that's Kingsford, which was closed under that previous one for the resident.
It's actually quite well used.
Yeah.
By traffic taking the shortcuts right in your Brighton Road, and then they go through Crescent Ave.
Yes.
Into Gators.
We talked about the cricket nets here the other day. One thing I have noticed when I've been there is that people drive very quickly around that corner. But that doesn't necessarily mean you need to close a road, but there is an issue there with people racing around it. Yeah.
Yeah, so there could be maybe some traffic calming's more appropriate here. I had a chat to the transport planners, and they hadn't done a full assessment, but they didn't think that it would be, from a network perspective, overly problematic. But it might still be annoying for people. So
it might be, yeah. Greg?
Similar space, but slightly off topic. The inside of where that road's looking being closed, is that an option to include that into build park to expand it for some of the sports field?
Oh, so through in this little bit?
Yeah.
Don't see why not. It's got a fence there, like that red line is a fence line.
Yeah, I just know at the moment there's a lot of junior cricket, particularly through summer, and they've crammed a quite tight space. Separate issues with rugby, but yeah, that could be an additional space that the clubs might be interested in being able to make use of.
Yeah, I mean, it's technically within the ORC.
There's a wetland.
But from our perspective, it's not really any use to the ORC because it's just it's sort of separated by roads and it's not connected to anything.
It might be worth, I think it's worth consulting on.
Yeah, all I know about that little bit of land is that at one stage I wanted to take the fence away, but there was concerns about wind and things, so if they wanted to open it up, they might be a fence closer.
There's a lot of rabbits there too.
So yeah, I don't know how that gets progressed, but from my point of view, I'm open to it. I guess that'll just go into the report saying recommend direct consultation with the residents. And then depending on the result of that, maybe we carry on from there and push it more widely.
So I'm aware that Vera Consult, and we'll go to Yanni, have requested the first slide. So I'd just be interested if you have any comments about consulting.
Can we just go back to that slide, the first one? So the pink line, what road is that?
So that's one of the new ones. So that pink line is basically this red line here from the region plan, which services this purple area of East.
Because I thought, I'm sure we will put it right, me will put it right. I thought the idea was to close off from corner Vivian and Star up to Brooker, like that one there.
Yeah.
That was one that I thought we were closing and leaving access back down from Vivian onto New Brighton.
Yes, yeah, this one here. Yeah.
But I thought that, maybe I've just got it all wrong in my head. I'll just be quiet now.
So that's so the yellow.
I thought that it was showing that you were going to be closing from Vivian down to New Brighton one of the slides, but I've just.
No, so the yellow is currently open, and
Yeah.
that pink is just the allowance for that future road to set up for the housing. So you don't have to worry too much about that just at the moment. And then that is, well, at least that's the drawing that came back from that
Right.
meeting, showing what you guys had discussed. And I guess worth noting that Stour and Brooker don't necessarily need to be closed at the same time. So it could be that if we stop it all, maybe we close Stour first and then Brooker stays open for a bit or has the gate
Right.
system or.
Because can it be, and I'm talking completely off topic really, is it because of the park, are we able to keep Brooker open from the top end back down to the park?
I did wonder about that too.
Yeah.
I think it's, Mr. Chairman, I think it's important that there's access to the park.
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways we could do it. So one is via the gates. So we have the gates that are open and then that allows full daytime access to the park until the park's no longer there. Having a sort of a partially open section, I think you'd still probably want a gate of some sort, just because otherwise we find people really like dumping stuff at the end of dead ends, even more so than through roads, because they sort of know they're not going to be disturbed. So from our perspective, I think it'll be less work to have it fully open and 2 gates rather than a dead end.
Because has anyone spoken to the, maybe it's up to us to be speaking to the golf people, the disc golf, because surely they'd want.
No, that's okay. I mean, it's the same issue as the park, because they won't be there forever, but they are there at the moment. And so if we have if we have this open during the day,
Yeah.
then it allows them to be accessed as well. Yeah.
Because I just live off Edmonds Way on the off Vivian Street. So the corner, so were you going to maybe look at moving Donnell Park? Is it on my back, on my neighbour, on my back fence? And my, like it's just on Porori Close, the mountain wheelies are in Porori Close because it's quite a big round bit that they can do wheelies in. And then on that corner of Vivian Stour, it's just awful. It's just, they're just there all the time, dumping rubbish into the
Yeah, this one's priority, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, in a perfect world, we just pull that out. But what we're finding is that it's actually very expensive to pull out.
Oh, I
these
don't think
projects
that's
at
a
the
road,
moment.
it's just that because they can get in to do their wheelies.
Yeah, has it not got a gate on
It has got a gate,
Yeah.
but because it's Porori Close and the gate is probably in about 10 metres.
it? Oh, okay, yeah.
We
So
We
the
can-
gate was actually on the road.
Yeah, we can pull that gate forward.
Yeah, but or then you've got, dog walkers, they all park in
They
there.
like to park
So
there,
it's,
yeah.
what's right, what's wrong, but it's just because the gate is in quite a way, it means that they have the access to do the.
Yeah, I can look at pulling that gate forward.
Greg, did you have something on this specifically?
Yeah, so when Zane came along and spoke about it, the discussion was narrowing those intersections, particularly with where Priory Close is, and also tightening the corner where the section of Stour Drive will be shut off.
Yeah.
There's plenty of parking on the side of the road to not need someone to go park into the Priory Close there. The other discussion also was Stop and Shop. I can't think of the name of the street that runs through the middle. Dunedin Drive. The top of that, there was one discussion about having the road as a stop point there was something you mentioned, but you've covered that now with saying about the through road being a safer spot. The main thing that sort of came up and it's sort of come up when I've spoken to different people is the section of Stour Drive is probably the thing that's the heightened issue at the moment because Brooker Ave is so bumpy. It's not as much of a racetrack.
You don't even fix that road.
It's Stour Drive that's really got the speed going through there because it's really wide, and particularly on the corners of those intersections that's in the space.
Yanni, can I wait for you if it's not about this specifically?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Joe.
Sorry, with that little bit of Stour Drive being kept, will that be done up?
Stour Drive, we're committing Stour Drive gets stripped. This
That one you got, the other
The
bit,
bottom piece of it.
Oh, this
the
bit,
bottom
sorry.
piece,
Yeah,
that be,
yeah.
that be
So the
improved
recommendation,
because it's actually close.
yeah, so the recommendation is that we do some traffic calming on that whole section of Stour and Vivian.
And the actual tar seal and the curbs and everything would be done.
Getting outside of my area, because that's all transport budget.
So one would have to actually advocate for that to be done.
Potentially, I don't know what their budget's looking like.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Now, I want to be, because I have to go back to work. I would like to be done by 5, so we're almost there. So, Yanni.
Oh, for the the last one that we were on before we jump back, I think engaging with the sports users would be really important as well, because there's a lot of people that park up there for the winter sports. I don't know about summer sports, but I just noticed.
Same, yeah.
It would be good just to have a little bit of engagement around maybe what some options might be there.
Yeah.
To get that. And I mean, again, I don't know if there's any ability to look at if there is an increase in traffic along the Brighton Road, then actually it's quite dangerous crossing the Brighton Road. So whether there's any sort of safety improvements we could consider at the same time. Thanks.
Yeah, it can be pretty diabolical there.
I do have one more.
Yeah, one more.
Yeah. Quite an important one. So there's a retreat in Cowley Shores. So we've got these 2 roads, they're both open. There's quite a lot going on in the region plan through here, and a lot of that was to set up for the Eden project. Eden project is now officially cancelled itself, and there is a local group that are trying to re-establish something along similar lines, but they're moving not overly fast. And our internal staff thinking is that we could probably service that plus the trial housing in this area with one of the 2 roads rather than both. The reason that we are interested is because of all this. So retreat's probably our #1 black spot in the entire corridor in terms of things like speeding, car burnouts, not just the wheelies, but also actual setting cars on fire, accidents and heaps dumping. So I got some stats from our ops guys. 16% of all of our dumping tickets come from this little section of Retreat Road. And these photos are all from this year. It's always something, what have I got there? 664 tickets we've cleared since we started owning Retreat Road for our sins. Another important point is that the bridge here, just for people's future thinking, is really not in good condition, and there's no renewals funding tagged to it at all yet from a transport perspective. So it's a Swans Road Bridge, yeah. So we actually well, you'd still potentially need it for Cowley Shore, but then you'd probably start to wonder, well, what are we actually servicing, and should people not just be going down onto the collector road through here instead? I guess you'd have to ask whether or not it's worth spending all that money upgrading that bridge. But they're sort of bigger picture questions. But that was the reason that, I don't know if people recall, the CWC pathway came up around here, and then in the region plan it went across the bridge and up this side.
Yeah.
But when we did the investigation for that work, we found that that bridge can't handle any building onto it or any change of lanes, so loading the traffic onto it in a different way, because it just won't handle it. So that was why the CWC ultimately went up the left-hand side of the river instead. So it's quite a big discussion topic, and one that all in the report, all we were going to ask was the board to effectively give us the nod to do wider consultation to find out what people think about that, and probably some traffic assessments to see what the impacts of that are.
That's no problem here. Might be good to.
Cowley Shore, is that the one that the climate action
Yes.
that's on to? So we wouldn't really want to close that, would we?
No, so the proposal is that retreat becomes the one that gets closed off, and people who want to go that way would have to go around Cowley Shore. Cowley Shore's slower speed, it's got traffic safety devices already, and it's got a lot more twists and turns to get onto it, so you're not going to be just flying along there.
Yeah. Cool. Question from Ian?
I don't know where we've got to with the whole tsunami evacuation transport thing, but I am mindful that actually the Fitzgerald Bridge in Kilmore is actually a lifeline that hasn't been upgraded either. So, I am concerned that there's very few places to actually get across the river. And there is a lot of safety concerns, particularly down Woodland Road, Avonside Drive, Linwood Ave, where that all comes in. So again, a little bit concerned if more traffic was going to come run through. Totally understand the rubbish stuff, but I think it would be good to engage with the residents in that area. Around what we're doing, that certainly be my preference. And also actually the big concern is that the new bridge is dangerous at Gateway Stellington. And I don't know if we're ever gonna address that, but yeah. When will we know what the future use is? That's news to me about the Eden project, but not surprising, but like what is actually planned to go in here for the red zone?
Yeah, so the Eden project, that's fairly new news. I think I've known about it for a wee while, but it was only officially announced in the media, I think early last week, a couple of weeks ago. There is a group that I can't probably say too much about them because they're still working through their plans, who sort of want to take that on and do something similar. They have to get their minor piece in order first. So they're working on that. It's not progressing fast at all. If that was, because that's a third party proposal, I can't really influence it too much. If it was to fall over, I know the water guys are quite interested in not having to build the entire stop bank to protect it because it's going to be quite expensive. So if they could build the stop bank through there and allow that piece of the corridor to flood, they'd be very happy.
So it's sort of like a wetland kind of thing.
Yeah, so it'd be a wetland. Yeah, which would probably mean you're building about a third of the total stop bank length, and you're building it on better ground. So it'd be considerable money saving. And
just the only other question I had was, we still haven't. I can't get copies of the cycleways route options, but we are supposed to have a cycleway coming out this part of town.
The MCR?
Yeah, the MCR. And so because I don't know we haven't even agreed on a preferred route, but that might be one of the key routes. So, yeah, when would we, I guess, have some sense of, I mean, it exists.
Need to know if there's funding for it in the LTP or not, right?
Yeah, I had a feeling that there wasn't, but I could be.
No, so they've already completed the preferred route assessment.
Yeah.
That was done so that they could coordinate with the red zone and Pages Road Bridge. But when you talk to people on those projects, they say, actually, no, we haven't. And we've just done Worcester Street as well, where we've done safety improvements, put in crossings, and the MCR apparently was going to go down there. But it's frustrating that that information exists. We can't see it at a governance level. Staff have it at an operational level. The public have no idea what's in it. And just if we're going to go and engage around road closure, it may have no impact at all, but it does seem a bit, it would be a bit of a shame to impact on some of those decisions if we're not aware of it.
And that would seem like important information.
I'll find out and I'll add it to the report.
Yeah, that project is progressing. So there's, are you talking about
At council the other day, they said they would not provide a copy of the preferred route.
Yeah, but they said that they're doing the planning work as we speak, so.
Yeah.
So last I heard, I think it was going down Woodham, but I'll have to double check where it's at.
Yep. Well, it'd be good if that information was included in with the report.
Yep.
So just in terms of the key thing that you wanted to know from us, and then we will need to finish the session. I think probably we'd be more comfortable with consultation with the affected community on all of these issues. And I know, and I appreciate that will take a bit longer, but it's I guess there's a whole lot of not just practical things, but we're still dealing with something that's being lost by the community. So I think we need to be careful and considerate and to know what people think. But bearing in mind, if we can do something sooner rather than later for reducing the antisocial use of these roads, then that's good. So don't want to be a needless impediment, but it does seem we do want to know if the community has any additional thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's fine from my perspective. So what I'll probably do is pull that report, do some consultation, and just bring it back in a few months. I mean, we've been dealing with this for the last 5 years, so another few months won't make a big difference. I think the urgency was probably more around, Vera was a bit sick of all the antisocial behaviour, but yeah, good to do the consultation, right, for sure.
I'd be happy to hear from Vera again briefly around whether you're comfortable with that.
We have done a Facebook poll and that information's been sent on to Cindy.
Yeah, so
See what,
Yeah, Cole didn't really indicate too much because you get a whole lot of stuff that's not relevant to what we're trying to find out anyway.
Yeah, and that's the thing, if we do our a formal consultation, then we will get a clearer picture, hopefully, of where people in the area, you know, how important people in the area think access to the park is, for instance. I assume it will be fairly important, but we just don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, okay. Well, Greg, I'll give the,
Yeah, it was just, obviously with the Star Drive section and that, the Vera section, but also the Retreat Road, I think is the other one that really needs to be looked at urgently if we can. There's a lot of money and resources going into that space that's just picking up rubbish. And if we can find a way to reduce removal, whatever it is, I think that would be a great spot to start at.
yeah.
Okay,
Great.
probably I think what we would probably do if we're going to consult all of them is we probably do like a 2-stage where we talk to the Sutton Place and the Broomfield Place immediate residents first before going too broadly, because you wouldn't want them to find out at the same time as everyone else.
Yeah, agree.
So it might just be a slightly slower process.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Dave. All right, thank you, everyone. If you do our closing karakia. Kia tau, te rangi mani o te rangi e te iho nei o Papatuanuku, tapu tō nei o te kaiao e awhi nei ki runga e a tātou tihei mauri ora.